Rob Wootton's life in fishing. So we'll start where it all began. Where did you used to go? Who used to take you? And how did it all start?
I suppose like most people, my dad used to take me. My dad was really, really keen fisherman. Used to fish some matches, and he used to, times were different then. He used to work sort of 5.5 days, half day on a Saturday. He'd take me maybe Saturday afternoon, and then he'd go and fish a match on Sunday, and I'd get dumped round grandparents or something. So I used to fish occasionally on a Saturday afternoon, a few evenings as well during the summer. Local canal. We'd sometimes go to the reservoir that we did a feature in.
Yeah, so we did
Saddington Reservoir. We'd occasionally go there because my dad loved his bream fishing, still does, loves his bream fishing. Catches less now, but he's stubborn. He's a stubborn old guy, and he just can't catch them now. So he used to catch a few fish back in the day. And then you progress, and eventually you start travelling with people, or you start mixing with people who are of a really good standard and fishing in a way that's sort of relevant to the time. So commercials really hit in when I was sort of like late teens, I suppose.
Yeah, so I was going to say, at what stage did sort of match fishing and that
well,
scene
if we
come
go back, I used to fish canals all the time, and obviously the national was a massive thing for us.
Yeah.
So as a team, we had our local team, which was Wigston, which is in Leicester, and we'd always sort of like have a bit of niggle with Leicester Juniors, which had some fantastic young anglers in. Because obviously from the years of everyone from years ago would look at Leicester as one of the teams.
Yeah.
So, you've got Steve Hemingway, Pete Jays, and really good anglers that have come through that sort of setup. And we'd go to all these events. We'd go to, like I say earlier, the North Bank, Erewash Canal, Northampton Canal, and fish these nationals. And there were hundreds of kids, 700, 800 kids fishing these nationals, which, again, where are they now? They're not there. And we'd have a fantastic time. But then that sort of side of fishing just slowly died away, became less interesting to us.
The team side.
Team side. And what happened was I probably started going out uptown, street corners and all that. You go at
street corners.
Street
soliciting.
Not soliciting, but you go out with your mates or whatever at night.
Yeah.
And fishing was less importance of me from sort of like the age of 15 up to sort of like maybe 20. But
I think everyone goes through that stage, whether it's going off to uni or whether a bit earlier bloomer and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So obviously, by the age of like 18, I fancied doing a bit more, because I started really, really enjoying my sort of like commercial style fishing. There was a few commercials just cropping up locally, and I'd go and have a little look at them and thought, this is just amazing. I remember going to the first time and getting broke on sort of like 012 line, which was tow rope.
Yeah.
I used to make all my rigs up to 06 straight through for the canal.
Yeah.
So I'm fishing 011, 012. I got broke on it, and I'm thinking these must be monsters in this lake. So that's where we started, and then obviously your progression is so fast when you're fishing commercials, because you're getting bites, you're catching fish, that all of a sudden you're winning money on commercials. And it was such early days that when you look back now, obviously we always say it, but if you had the knowledge that you got now and put it back then, you just win everything.
Yeah, and like I see you, obviously I've played football with you, we talk a lot. I see you as a really competitive person. No matter what it is, you're
well, I think a lot of match anglers are. But I would say that I'm very competitive.
Yeah. So is it the idea of just you wanting to be the best that drives you in fishing?
No, I really enjoy fishing.
Yeah.
I really enjoy fishing, and that is my thing to be the best at. So you talk about football, and I spoke to Phil Ringer about this. The reason we're fishing is because we weren't good enough at football. So this is fulfilling that competitiveness for us, because we're match fishing. Now that's not to say I wouldn't be fishing, but I'd be doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I'd be doing sort of another style of fishing. If I was getting my competitive sort of kick somewhere else, fishing would be my release.
Because they're all Phil Ringer, Steve Ringer. myself,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
we've all
They like
growing
their
up.
sports,
We all
they like
played
sports,
football
they like
growing up.
sports.
So all failed footballers,
You all
basically.
failed footballers.
Pretty much, yeah.
So we like sports. That's not to say there's a lot of fishermen that haven't played in a competitive team, but doesn't make them less competitive. But I love fishing, and as you say, I am very, very competitive. So fishing to me sort of satisfies that competitive need. But if I pick up a golf club, I sort of have to put it down after a couple of days because I know I'm never going to be the best at that. I need to forget about it because I can't take it for what it is.
Yeah. So you find it hard to accept that you're not ever going to be the best in the world.
Yeah, I really struggle with. I like to pick it up and see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And if I think this is going nowhere, I'll just put it straight back down again.
Yeah. Do you almost get a point where, when you were a kid doing it, you had almost that time ahead of you that you were like, yeah, I can do this?
Of course,
this,
yeah, you've got the time.
Especially for golf and stuff like that, there's almost, if you're not
too late.
pro by 18, you're almost done.
Too late.
Not happening.
Too late. I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, both boys. Obviously, I'm trying to instill the competitiveness into them because I'm that sort of person, and it might push them the opposite way. So I'm trying to be really careful with it. But what I understand is that everything happens so fast now, and you've only got to look at angling. Let's take angling as an example, because we're obviously talking about angling. But it's the same as any sport. Everyone's getting younger. We're talking about 16-year-old footballers signing for millions of pounds. We're talking about 20-year-old anglers in 50 grand finals. Everything's happening really fast.
Yeah.
Because the information's there, the will to want to do it's there, and I think the world has just become more competitive in general.
It's the same in football. I know that my nephews who play in tournaments, 6 years old, scouts.
Exactly.
Scouts at the football.
Exactly. And I took my lad when he was 5 to Leicester City Academy, just to give him to
show him what it's like.
So everything, the world has become far more competitive, and it's happening so much faster now. So I think the power of your youth is immense. If you can channel that and have an old head on young shoulders with all those things that you can do, and you can do it a lot faster, I think you're onto a winner there.
And is match fishing, or just fishing in general, something that you're going to push, George?
No, of course. I've got 2 sons, George and Monte, and I take them fishing. What I don't want them to do is become so fixated on it that that's the only thing. Because
ideally you want them to become a footballer.
No, it's not just that. It's not just that. It's not just that. If they can become a footballer, that's obviously a lot of parents want their kids to become successful like that. But the trouble with fishing is, and we've all had it, we're all addicted to it, and now we can't see the wood for the trees. We can't see an end. We can't think of anything else. Any other industry, we're in it. So. Because it's an addiction, it's so we just love it, and I wouldn't want my kids to be like that, because I just feel that the industry as a whole, in 20 years' time, I'm not too sure where it'd be. And if they were as competitive as me, they would want to be doing it as often as I am, and the money wouldn't be there to be doing it as often as they would need to be doing it to be competitive. I work for international teams of the future, and bigger, not necessarily bigger events, because I still think they'll be around, but your international teams of the future, when these younger kids, you see what Guru are doing to help the kids out at the minute, it's amazing.
But they're doing it, but not everybody's doing it.
What's going to happen though, is because we're helping out those kids that have got it already, and we're not doing really enough to bring any other kids through, those kids that have got it already, in 10 years' time will have no one to fish with. They've got no one to fish against, no one to fish with, and the industry won't be the same, because there's no other kids coming through, or no other anglers coming through, and it just becomes becomes stale.
It's worrying. I find it worrying that when I turn up, and it'll be the same for Rich, 27, 28 years old, we turn up at matches and we're the youngest people.
Yeah.
And we're...
Hang on, I'm 38. I still feel young on a fishing match.
You are, you're still a young angler.
38.
Yeah.
I think there's
nearly 30. The greys show it.
I go and play football, because I still play football at night. I go and play football, And I'm the oldest guy there.
Well, this
still
is the thing.
running around with the kids.
At football, you could play for vets teams.
Yeah.
But at fishing, you're a youth.
How good would I be in a vets team?
I'd
rule it, wouldn't I?
Like a languid Dimitar Berbatov.
Or an even slower Berbatov.
Even slower.
A lazier Berbatov.
So,
going back to it then, so obviously we fished the junior nationals, where, as I mentioned before, 700, 800 kids there, which tells you 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, if 10% of those guys are fishing, I've had this conversation millions of times with hundreds of people, if 70 of those 700 are still fishing, that's only 10%.
Yeah. And when I fished it, so you were 25 years ago, I was 15 years ago, it was between 200 and 300 maximum.
So I
10%
think is,
of that, 20
if you're calling it a sort of a retention rate of 10%,
it's getting lower and
it's
lower.
Getting lower and lower as the years go by.
Yeah.
So it's just, unless something drastic's done about it, unfortunately, it's gone. Unfortunately. But getting back to me, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I started fishing Holly Farm, catching a few fish. I used to fish with a friend of mine, Tom Pringle. We were like sort of inseparable, going to fish pairs matches.
Who does
local
still
venues.
fish?
Still
a
fishes,
very good angler.
Still fishes, good angler. And we'd bounce ideas off each other. And then I started travelling with another really good angler, and he was at the time exceptional. And his ideas were amazing, Sean Huggins. And I used to go wire takers with him, and he was brilliant for bouncing ideas off. And what he would do as well, he was quite crafty really, is he'd chuck something out there, chuck an idea out there, and I'd come back the next week with something made, like to fish the method.
Yeah.
I've whipped eyes onto bits of dried reed so I can get my hook bait to lay against the reed when I'm fishing up against reeds on the far bank. It's crazy things like that. We were making banjo feeders 5 years before banjo feeder was even just things like this. But obviously we never
called it something different.
Yeah, but
obviously.
Sean would have all these ideas, and we'd mess around with things, and obviously how we're fishing things. And in our little area, Sean was well ahead of the time, and obviously I was really young and competitive. And we used to do fantastic. We used to do really well.
There's so many examples of that, I bet, lying around in people's shed everywhere.
Yeah.
There'll be so many old things they've made and either gone,
because
well,
we used to have to make everything.
Yeah.
Well, in those early days, there wasn't a method feeder around.
Yeah.
We used to have to make our method feeders.
Yeah.
We used to have to grind pellets to make the right fish meal ground bait. It was proper. It was really. I
suppose that's the time you could actually get a proper advantage for the methods you were fishing, as opposed to...
Now we talk about making decisions during a match, then you could go and say, I'm going to fish method feeder up against the far bank, and no one's going to beat me, because they haven't even got a method. Yeah. They're fishing a cage feeder.
Yeah, it's almost levelled it out now. Yeah. There's so much information, so many videos.
Exactly,
you can't... Nothing stays particularly quiet for long, and it's
There's
minor
still people
tweaks,
that are adapting. Like the good anglers, you'll always see, the best anglers, you'll always see have adapted, taken certain products and adapted them slightly.
It's tiny steps now, and it's baby steps.
Yeah. A lot of time, all the companies, the original prototype where, say, for example, it was yourself or Preston Innovations, Andy Finley's gone to them and said, look what I've made. What they've made probably isn't quite what they can't make that en masse.
Yeah.
So it's got to be tweaked. So when they get the product, they might tweak it ever so slightly, and there's still that going on.
Yeah, loads of that.
It's just marginal gains.
It is.
It's
marginal
a cycling term that they use a lot, where is now it's just probably less than 1%. But if you've got a load of those in your back pocket that you can bring out, then if it's a few pound at the end of the match,
that's all it's about. And it might only be one fish. Might get you one fish. And
if you could add one fish onto every match you fish through the course of a season, it'd be ridiculous.
I think I've already said to you this year. So far this year, I've already been beat by an ounce or half an ounce or 8 drams 4 times.
Yeah.
1 ounce or 8 drams. So twice by an ounce, twice by half an ounce.
Yeah.
4 times.
It is. It's tiny. Match fishing, and especially the levels that we're doing it at. The line between success and failure is so thin.
Yeah.
Because you're at the pinnacle.
Yeah.
You're at the pinnacle of doing it. The thing that I can't stress enough is, for anyone who is keen, getting into it, is travelling with someone who's good.
Yeah.
Like I say, Sean really helped me out. There was times where I couldn't drive. This was, sort of 17, 18 to 18. So I started driving when I was like late 18, 19, and Sean would pick me up. And we'd go to all places. go places, and sometimes we went for an. Sean won UK champs. That's how good he was. He won UK champs, against some really good anglers.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to focus. So all me and Sean would do sometimes, which we'd just go smoke dope everywhere we went. I'll tell you what, we had a week in Whiteacres where we just constantly smoked dope. And we just go in the caravan and we'll just have it all week. But it was brilliant. It was brilliant times, and that's probably where a lot of the ideas came from.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
But that week, I think we both finished like out of 180 guys. I think I was in the caravan. I was our best performer at 120th.
Yeah,
we weren't really
but totally chilled about it.
We enjoyed yourself.
We enjoyed ourselves.
Great fun. Moving on. You are seen as an angler that likes to keep things simple.
Yeah.
However, you have won big events, the Drennan Knockout Cup, UK Angling Championships, where you are going to loads of different venues, having to do loads of different tactics, different disciplines of angling. Is it actually your adaptability?
Easy for you to say,
where you find that your strengths lie as an angler?
I think so. There's certain methods that don't get me wrong, if I spend what I'll try and do is, if I was to go and practice on a venue, I'll go and I like to feel that I can fish quite a few different methods. That's in my head. I like to think I'm sort of a jack of all trades when I go to a venue. And then what I try and do when I'm practicing is spend a couple of days refining that method that I think, two or three of the methods that are going to work on that venue. So we're sitting here today, beautiful day, Tunnel Barn Farm. I used to fish here a little bit in big qualifiers or some bigger matches, and I always felt, because I was doing a lot of commercial fishery work, that I could come here and sort of compete. But never felt that, when you've come in here against all the regulars, I felt like I could just turn up on a Fishermania match and just compete, because you get a chance on a decent peg. But I never felt against all the regulars that you could turn up against people that were so in tune with the venue and actually win. So what I'd have to do in those instances is turn up, use my versatility to sort of pin down a couple of methods, and then practice those couple of methods that I thought were going to be the methods. And that might take you a day or so, 2 days, 3 days to actually fine tune those methods, go away, make some rigs up, do something with your gear, and then come back, and then you can compete. So don't think that I'm just, anglers like me just turn up and it's just easy, because it's not. Okay, I'm not saying that hasn't happened in the past, but you need to have a decent peg to do all that. Yeah. A lot of time and effort goes in behind. The amount of times I've been practicing where no one's really known I've been practicing, they just think I've turned up and I've actually sorted something out, or the times I've driven to, I've driven an hour somewhere and an hour back just to get one item of kit because I think that was going to be important on the day, is, all those little things behind it. When you look, it all mounts up, it's like the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. All those little things underneath the water are really important.
And you're not just going to a venue and just going, all I'm going to do is that. You might have those other things in your armoury, and then when you get to your peg, you're thinking, right, of those 6 or 7 methods I could do, I'm only going to do 1 or 2 and make them work. Yes. And because I've got that down to a T, I'm going to make them work, and it's going to do me well.
Yeah, that's what can we use as an example? We can probably use Evesham as an example. I think it was before you were at DHP, is it, Evesham?
The first year I was there, potentially.
First year. When I won the Saturday at the Evesham, which again, really look at, it was the last year that it was like big money. Yeah. Obviously, it used to be called the John Smiths, and it was a Shakespeare when I won it. I fished basically to my strengths, because it's a bloodworm and joker match. All the top guys come down, fish bloodworm and joker, and I had Simon Willsmore to my left, Alan Scawthorne to his left, top guys. Yeah. And I was on a peg that the flow wasn't quite right. And let's get right, I'm not an expert on bloodworm and joker fishing by any stretch of the imagination, but I can sort of just about do it, because but I've not been practiced it. I pulled my bloodworm and joker in, I caught a tiny little fish over it, couldn't do it. But I've been down and fished quite a few of the opens and I was catching a lot of ugly fish, chublets, perch, eels and stuff like that. And that's basically after an hour.
Don't let Andy May call you calling a chublet an ugly fish.
No, a chublet is a thing of beauty. Right, a chublet is a thing of beauty, but a perch and an eel, they're ugly, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the ugly fish.
That's wicked.
Well, perch. Perch have saved me today. Because we've done a feature and
the Warwickshire Raven.
Perch have saved me today. We've caught nothing.
Roach did not want to feed.
The roach didn't want to feed. Did. So after about an hour and a half, I've given my head a wobble and thought, there's no way I'm beating Alan Scawthorne, especially off a worse peg, fishing worm and joker.
Playing him at his own game.
So, yeah, exactly. There's no way I'm doing it because he does that week in, week out.
Yeah,
and I've not practiced that. So that's when I've just got my head down, fished those ugly fish. Fortunately, there was a load in front of me that day, flat float fishing, those things that I'd been tweaking in the run-up to that match because I'd been drawing that sort of area, and it pays off.
Yeah.
The thing that comes from it is that in those events, they always say it, no one really remembers second apart from you. It's nice to come second in big money because you win some big money, but in those events, up until the fat lady sings, I'm still fishing to win the match. I'm still believing that I can win the match as well. So I'm always, what have people got? Even if I'm £100 behind on a carp match, going into the last hour, I'm still thinking, well, I've caught £100 in an hour before. I might get a chance to do it today. Today might be the day. It's only the last 10 minutes where you sort of sink away thinking it's not going to happen today.
I think that's a good point as well on actually fishing to your own strength as well. Like if you're up against some of these anglers and you're almost trying to copy what they're doing, you never, unless you're on an absolute flyer against them, you're never going to be competing on their own game sort of thing.
No, and then coming up with a radical method is hard now. But again, Tunnel Bar Farm, use that as an example. Bit of a controversial one, but Paul Newell come up chucking loads of bread in, takes it apart, and he's beating guys fishing nicely because Paul Newell didn't want to come and fish nicely against the guys fishing pellets and things like that because he just knew he was going to become second. He's come up with his own method, and he's an angler that wanted to win. Yeah. So he come up and did that, and obviously it paid off for him, didn't it?
Banned it all now.
The banned him, banned him.
I think that's probably a sign you've worked something out, hasn't it?
See you later, Paul.
Paul still
they didn't ban him, they just banned the method.
Paul still does well, and he does it elsewhere, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if he comes here anymore.
Yeah, every now and then I think he does,
I
think he does a little bit, but not nowhere near what he
used to.
No, he
didn't,
no. So, lovely.
Nice. That's nice.
Moving on, sponsorships.
Yeah.
So, probably a bit of a two-part question here. So, do you feel the idea of sponsorship has been clouded in recent years with deals being thrown about sort of willy-nilly as such? And in terms of your own sort of sponsorship situation, obviously you've been with Dynamite, you've stood by Dynamite, and they've stood by you for a long time now, about 12 to 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, it's good with Dynamite.
But in terms of a specific tackle sponsor as such, you sort of don't, you've not sort of labelled down with anything.
That's a bit of a unique one, I think, at the moment as well. You've got to be one of the few that haven't got an official.
Is that a conscious decision?
Yeah,
so that you can use...
very conscious. Although that's not open. That's still open to any sort of change for me personally. Let me cover the sponsorship of sort of the willy-nilly, as you said.
Yeah. Tried to say.
I spoke to someone the other day, someone really high up who work for companies, and they call them pay-as-you-go anglers, which is because he says they pay for the gear as they go, and they're sort of like pretty disposable guys. Your Facebook guys, get a few results, and don't get me wrong, these are fantastic anglers. Some of them are brilliant anglers, and they get a deal, and it's amazing because in the world we're in, sponsorship seems to be sort of the holy grail for a lot of these guys, and I think a lot of guys have forgot why they go fishing. You're talking about the cost earlier about buying some casters for a match, because you're trying to look at it as a business. If I go, because it's match fishing, pleasure angler doesn't worry about how much it costs. He just goes. You go into a tackle shop, or my dad had a tackle shop. A carp angler comes in who's not a sponsored guy, who wants a gallon of maggots for the weekend. Or a barbel angler comes in, he wants a gallon of casters, gallon of maggots, because he's going on the river catching barbel.
Yeah.
He's not trying to balance the books, he's going fishing. So, because we're match anglers, we always seem to look at it as sort of like a business. And I think the sponsorship thing, for a lot of guys, is when they get sponsored, it's like, I've made it. This is me, I've made it, I'm sponsored, I've got the hat. And lots of people want the hat and want to be attached to something.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. It takes all sorts of people.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree that's fair enough. If you're wanting to represent a brand because you feel you can add to that
fantastic.
brand, brilliant.
But there seems to be almost having the term of being a sponsored angler seems to be more important than being with a company that's going to help your fishing. Almost there seems to be quite a lot that anyone that offers them sponsorship, whether it's a benefit or, I think in a lot of cases, if they've not got the product range or it's products that don't suit your fishing, it might be negatively affecting your results, the fact that you have to use them, or they're not using the gear anyway, and they're just going for it to get the title of a sponsored angler, effectively.
Exactly. So there's a lot of guys, and they say, I'm sponsored by so-and-so float, so-and-so bait, all this. Then 2 weeks later, I'm sponsored by this bait, this bait. And like I say, it takes all sorts, but, and this is my honest opinion, one of the reasons that the trade is really suffering, as in, the angling trade, is because they're the sort of anglers that 10 years ago, that block of anglers, the pay-as-you-go anglers, which there's probably maybe even 1,000 or 2,000 of those people in the country that are those pay-as-you-go anglers. And if it might upset a few people, but they're the anglers that used to buy the stuff. They were key members of your tackle shop, but of your customer base. But they used to come in every week. They used to buy 2 bags of ground bait, the live baits, the bag of pellets, the kit, and go away. And I speak to a lot of tackle shops, and sometimes they've cancelled accounts with certain companies because that company sponsors the match group down the road. Because why do I need an account with so-and-so company, brand X? Because every angler in this area, my main customers that wanted anything from brand X, they get it trade anyway.
Fish for Team Brand X.
Yeah, they fish for Team Brand X, so they get it trade anyway.
Or through a mate who fishes there, that they pass it on to 10 people.
Exactly. So those 2,000 anglers who are the reason they've got sponsorship is because they go every week and they're really keen anglers. So they spend a lot of money. They put a lot of money into the trade. But those anglers have got sponsorship now, so they don't need to go in the shop as often. They don't need to spend as much money, and it's just ever diminishing circles. The next thing that it does is when you maybe read through the press, you see on social media, it's great. It's got a carpet bombing approach by the companies, which is great. You get a lot of products out there in one go. But as a reader of a magazine or as a viewer of a video, I don't know if I want to watch about Joe Bloggs talk about, even it could be the best pole in the world, the best rod in the world, but I don't know if I want to listen to Joe Bloggs' advice because he's not got the personality or he's not built up that respect level yet. And everyone starts somewhere, like I say, some of these guys are fantastic anglers and everyone starts somewhere. I start somewhere, everyone's has to start somewhere. But there's a lot of hope pinned on these guys. They seem to carry a little bit more weight than a Steve Ring or a Des Ship or a Lee Carey or, all these guys. Yep. So when does it come a point where, we don't need that superstar because we've got 10 sponsored guys who we give a bit of bait to for free.
Yep.
And then again, it's just diminishing circles. The anglers watching the videos and seeing things in the press aren't getting their money, aren't getting really good advice. Companies aren't getting their coverage. So you asked me the question. I think there is too many willy-nilly sponsorships knocking around. But having worked for companies, sometimes they do make sense. So going against that, sometimes they do make sense. Yeah. Especially bait-wise, it can make sense.
I think there's the right and wrong reasons.
I just don't want people. I don't like the sort of the chest puffing out aspect of it. That's what gets me a little bit. They've got a t-shirt and a cap. That's all they've got. You see them every time. They've got the same t-shirt and the same cap, and it's I'm sponsored. I'm sponsored aspect. They really feel like I'm sponsored. Yeah. But then you have to actually explain to them, you buy your bait for trade plus 20%, which is full price. It's like, but they want to feel part of something.
Do you not think it almost puts a pressure on the anglers to kind of have to have that persona where they're pushing product,
and then they're
getting results,
in it then.
and then they're almost like they need to if they've won a random open, they need to shout about it.
Of course, yeah, because that's in their contract. You draw out these contracts working for Spike Finn. I've drawn up these contracts working for. I used to look after sponsored anglers for Midi. I used to look after sponsored anglers for Dynamite. I used to have to ring round them, send emails, find out what they were doing, get all the information together, look at contracts, all that sort of thing. So I've seen it from both sides. Yeah. And all of a sudden, once they're sponsored, they're in it.
Yeah.
So what everyone can't do, and it's human nature. They have to. Everyone feels like they want to move forward.
I think in that position, you've almost, if you're giving people advice, you've got to think you're better than people almost. And I think this is where it probably gets quite hard with, especially junior anglers, when they're like 14, 15. By giving them that title of sponsored angler, it almost makes it hard for them to ask for advice, and it puts a lot more pressure on them.
I got a deal with Midi in my my mid-20s, and I always found it, and Dynamite, I always found it really difficult, and always felt a little bit uneasy when I used to do articles and offer advice, and I always used to try and word it in a specific way, because I felt that the majority of anglers are sort of like 50-year-old blokes.
Yeah.
And here's a 25-year-old guy, sort of quite a new guy, who might be good at fishing, but telling these guys what to do.
Yeah.
And you just have to be a bit careful of how you do it a little bit away, and just maybe how you act. It's just a bit awkward.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where it goes down to having that back catalogue of results and stuff, that it gives you a bit of authority that you can actually say things and back it up with something. Yes.
It's nice, obviously, for sponsored anglers. It's great. If you're great at your local scene and you win a few matches and you get a bit of sponsorship, it's fantastic. It's brilliant. Yeah. But you've still got to stay a bit level-headed, and just because you've got the cap and the t-shirt, you don't need to be, you're not Billy Big Balls. You're a very good angler. There's no doubt about your angling ability, but not Steve Ringer yet.
I think you'll know as well how small the actual industry is. Yes. That if you are a bit of a dick, everyone finds out about it pretty quickly.
Yeah, everyone knows, and as much as the companies don't obviously try and nick trade off each other, every company talks to each other, don't they? So when someone leaves or someone asks for a deal somewhere, they just don't. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So. Yeah, in my opinion, there's too many, and I think it's harming the trade. Yeah, I think it's too many.
But then there is that level where there's a lot of these people that are doing a very good job of promoting and putting it out there and just bringing a bit of awareness to these companies. There is. So there's a bit of a.
But how far does that go, though, Jake?
Yeah.
Because how many match anglers are in the country? So let's take a block. Let's say there's 100 match anglers in the country. There's 5 top sponsored anglers. There's another probably 20 underneath that. Then there's probably 20 guys or 30 or 50 guys who get a bait deal of some sort, or a kit deal that they have to pay trade for, or whatever they have to do.
Which leaves a very few.
Leaves 10 or 20 anglers to actually sell to.
Yeah.
And that means that somewhere along the line, those anglers at the top or the middle or the bottom have to miss out in long term. So do the companies miss out? Do those anglers miss out? Who misses out?
Yeah. Well, the tackle shops. But
obviously then that drips on. Then the companies, say...
Then the top-end sponsored anglers who don't have the money to pay these anglers to be that consultant for them. And there is that.
And obviously with social media and things like that, it's so accessible. Anyone can do a bit of filming, and if you're really proactive, which is what we're all looking for, as companies are always looking for guys who are really proactive. And, Rich, you'll know, if you've got a guy who's... not visually offensive to look at, can catch a few fish, and he shoots a phone video every day. He goes fishing, and then he gets all of a sudden 2,000 friends on Facebook. You're going to send him some bait, or you're going to look at him, aren't you?
There's a big difference between a good sponsored angler and a good angler.
Yes, exactly.
It's a different skill set. It's now it's so much more about being good on video, being able to write features, and not doing stuff that's going to reflect badly, be it on kicking off on Facebook and stuff like that. There's so much more to it now, and so much more you have to think about, I guess, with it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So I guess that kind of moves on to the second part of the question with you. Is it
My
an actual step back, or
well, my sponsorship, as I was mentioned, started with I got a deal with MIDI. I actually had a deal, another deal with another company. I had all the kit, and I had a choice of two companies. And a friend of mine at the time said, "Who can you make the most difference with? Because that's, you know, if you want to make a difference somewhere, which is what I think we're all looking to do in life." And I looked at the MIDI stuff, and I thought I can help there because at the time they didn't have any top range poles, they didn't have anything like that. And I felt like I could actually make a difference and actually rise up. So I went with MIDI. This was like my mid-20s, and also got a deal with Dynamite at the time. This, you know, as I'm talking about, it was a full kit deal. I didn't want to do any sort of trade sort of deals because I see them as that's a business arrangement. I don't want to be forced to buy someone's kit to use. So it was a full deal, and then it progressed to me looking after anglers, getting more involved. So it wasn't just a case of just going fishing. It was me looking after anglers, getting more involved with day-to-day runnings of things. I'd done quite a lot of marketing sort of, you know, backgrounds and things like that. I knew all about, you know, I knew a lot about the magazines at the time, and I could help both the companies out. So I was doing that for both companies. And then Shimano actually merged with Rapala. Rapala, there was a deal with Shimano. Rapala took over the distribution of sort of Shimano. It was a really messy business sort of like arrangement. And basically I got pulled into the office one day at Dynamite, and they said, "Listen, we're going to be merging with Rapala. Dynamite and Shimano are going to be merging. We want you to come on board, but it means you have to lose your MIDI thing." And now I'd always got on really well with the guys at MIDI, but Shimano was like offering them like really good money. I couldn't. Yeah. It was one of them where you couldn't turn down. I went to the MIDI guys. I said, "Look, this is what they're offering me." I'd never even picked up a Shimano product at that time, so because I'd always used either my dad's gear or, you know, bought a bit of gear, then all of a sudden got a deal with MIDI.
Yep.
They're offering me this money, and they said, "Look, we can't match the money. We'll always look after you. Whatever happens, you know, no problem. To make your decision. There's no problem. No hard feelings. We'll always look after you." I'd got a couple of other things going on because I design a couple of their products, and they always look after me with, you know, so it's only a tiny amount, but a little
big part behind the pole.
So I get a few royalties from a few sales anyway from them. So so there was always that deal, and I always used to get on really well with them. And so I went to Shimano and Dynamite. As it happened, quite a few people, because I thought I was going to lose my Dynamite deal, which I obviously love, quite a few people stayed with their relevant companies, but they managed to pull me, Polly, over, Nick Speed at the time. There was, I think that was it maybe for the top guys. Alan was still there, Alan Scotthorne was still there. And we had a fantastic time, probably about, we signed long contracts, like I say, decent money. Just go fishing, that was their thing. Just go fishing. You don't need to do any immediate stuff. You don't need to do any of your look after the sponsored anglers anymore. Yep. Just go fishing. It's like, this is amazing. You know, all aboard. So you're away. Sort of 3 years in, I think 4 years in maybe, time for the contracts to come up, and I always thought it was strange. And I twigged it nearer the time, but Polly was like not invited to meetings as much. And I remember bringing it up at one of the meetings, going, "You know, this is wrong, really. I can see what you're doing. You're phasing him out, and this is wrong. You need to be a bit more honest with what's going on." So, you know, some people agreed with that, some people didn't. But I always feel that you sort of your consultancy, your mates, really. I know. I never thought of this as when you get a deal or when you're in a team of nibbling at each other or competing with each other. Yep. I never thought of it as that up until like the Shimano days. But as it was, each time contracts come round, the pot gets a little bit smaller. So Polly had to go because he wasn't probably doing as much media work as everyone else. So he had to go. So about, I think, another 3 years pass because we again signed a long contract. I always make, because I like longevity in things. I don't like to be, you know, as the Dynamite thing proves, I don't like to be all over the place going from one to another because I just don't think it looks right. And I do like to believe in something and be a bit more passionate about it. And my contract was due up in the January, and I rang up in the November because they'd bought out very, very few match products Shimano had. You could tell the focus just wasn't on match, and the latest product was a reel, and it didn't even have a back wind. And I thought, for match fishing, it's just going on a really slippery slope this is. And I just thought, the focus isn't on it. I'm just not getting any treatment. I'm not getting any input in products. And I just thought, my financial situation wasn't that drastic that I needed. You know, I could afford to have a couple of years off. So I rang up the UK guy and I said, look, you know, this isn't as amazing as I thought it would be. I thought, Shimano, you should be ruling the world. You'd be travelling all over the place, looking at products and doing, you know, load of product development, helping out with certain things, and it just didn't happen. He said, right, we'll have a chat about it then, because obviously your contract, I think it comes up in January. I said, yeah, it does. So I went into the office about 2 weeks later, and he said, right, Rob, before you sit down, I've spoke to the guys in Holland. If you're not overly, you know, keen on it, as you know, the focus isn't on match. We just won't renew your contract. We can do, don't get me wrong, we can do, but if you're not keen on it, we won't renew your contract. So I was a little bit taken aback that it was like cut and dry. I was like, oh, okay then, fair enough. But they've always wanted to. Holland hated. Shimano was Europe is run from Holland.
Yeah.
They always wanted to keep the power in Holland. Don't quite understand the UK market very well, and obviously everyone, because it's a big corporate entity, everyone's looking over the shoulder, covering their own backs constantly. So okay then. As it was, we had a bit of a chat, and I just told him, you know, and he said, well, I'll air all your points, and we'll have a chat to the marketing guy from the European marketing guy from Holland. Fair enough. And as it was, I drove out the drive, and as I was driving down the drive, it's quite a long drive at Shimano at the time, another company rang. As I was driving down the drive, I hear you're not unhappy at Shimano. Oh, how do you know that? Would you be interested in a chat? Oh, okay then, fair enough. So I'm sort of like driving down the drive, smiling, you know, thinking I've jumped from one to another. This is amazing. Things happened there that didn't quite, you know, sit right. And then the marketing guy comes over then in January, just before contracts are up. So Christmas is gone, January comes up. And I'm thinking now, I haven't really got anything in place. I've not really thought about what I'm going to do next. So maybe I ought to keep the Shimano thing going, you know, keep it going for as long as possible before I sort of get something in place. And as I sat down with this guy, I just thought, this just isn't going to work. It's not going to work anymore. And they were sort of saying, well, we can offer you money, but you know, it's not what it was. It means cutting down all the consultants and just keeping you, because we'd have to give you all the whole of the consultant budget just to you, and it's not as much as what you're getting paid now, because we used to get, like I say, you used to get paid quite well. And I said, look, I was unhappy before when you were paying me that. I'm not going to really do it for less. You know, I don't really want to do it for less. I raised the meeting because I was unhappy. Well, as you know, products aren't changing. That's what they're saying. And we went round and round in circles for probably like half an hour, and I'm telling him about Steve Ringer, Matt Hayes, Mick Brown, Alan Scoffel, and all these anglers that have just been really, really, I want to say poorly treated, and they've actually walked through Shimano doors, and telling him how they should have ruled the world. And it got onto product development. Because I developed the last range of Beastmaster rods. I developed this range of Beastmaster rods, helped them out anyway. I had a big input into it, and it sold really well. And he says, yeah, they've sold really well. I said, so why didn't you use me for the next range of rods then that have just totally bombed? And he said to me, we've got guys in the office we don't need consultants. We have guys in the office who can help develop rods. And I just sort of like looked at him. I stood up, I put my hand out, and I said, I think we're finished here. Thank you very much. And just that was it. So that was my days there.
The main role as a consultant, they didn't want you doing that.
They didn't consult me, and I just don't want to be the guy that just goes and promotes the product. I just don't. You know, without really believing in it either. You know, I do. Like I say, I like working with people who are passionate about something. So that was my days at Shimano. Really, really long. It was fantastic because you get a really, really long notice period. So I got paid for like 6 months afterwards, which was just like, just go fishing for 6 months afterwards doing nothing. It's fantastic. Later that year, won the Maven match. I walked out the car park, 2 fingers up, like, hey, see you later, lads. Quite a few people in the circle were like, well done, mate, that sticks it up and that. I tell you what, that seagull nearly hit me on the head. Did you see that?
That was a foot away.
That was so clever.
It's meant to be lucky though, isn't it?
Yeah, he's like, will this story finish already?
So then, it was actually Joe really. He'd been to the magazine. I've always stayed in contact with guys at Mid-Air. Always stayed in contact. And Joe went and he come back and he said, "Oh, Dave, would really like you to do a bit more with them, Dave at Mid-Air." I said, "Oh, right. Yeah, I always get that impression, Joe." He said, "You ought to speak to him really." So basically now what I do is I use some of their products, the products that I choose to use. If I think it's crap, I don't use it. If I think another company's product's crap, I don't use it. If I think it's good, I use it. So you'll see me using gear that I think is good. I'm fishing at a really good level. I like to think I am. I'm fishing at a really good level, and I don't want to use crap gear. And even when Shimano is as good as the kit was, some of it was crap. Some of it was good. Some of it was out of this world. But sometimes you're forced, when you're a sponsored angler, going back to being sponsored angler, sometimes you feel forced to use gear that you're not really happy with. So now I can pick gear. The guys at Mid-Air are happy for me to do that. I can pick gear. I don't have to be plastered in logos like a Formula 1 driver, because they just say, use a bit of this gear if you're happy with it.
But do you not feel that the fact that you're in that position where you're using what you want, it kind of gives more clout to what you... If you recommend something from Mid-Air, in your position, everyone's like, well, he's using it because he actually wants to use it, not because he's getting paid.
As you guys have realised, you're doing podcasts now because YouTube, social media, all this podcast is a brilliant way of getting to people and talking to the public and getting out there and putting your views across. Obviously, I've got a YouTube channel. I've got quite a vibrant Facebook. I'm in magazines. I can get to enough people that it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
I can get to enough people, so I can get to a similar amount of people now that a lot of magazines can.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers you're getting on YouTube, like decent YouTube videos and stuff, there's a lot more people, and you look at magazines that out of those numbers, how many people are actually reading every single article and every single word? Videos, you can look and see exactly how many minutes people are watched.
And it's been searched for and everything, and it's all your analytics are there. So, so going back to it, I believe that maybe, because obviously I've got different roles with other people. I use, for instance, I use Free Spirit feeder rods for my long-range feeder fishing because I think they're fantastic for fishing long-range feeder fishing. Anyone with half a brain knows that I'm not necessarily paying full price for those rods, but I'm using them because I think they're the right tool. It's not because I don't want it to impact. I don't want them to impact my fishing. Now, if someone from any of these companies was to say to me, "Can you go and use that?" and I thought that product, and I thought it was a substandard product, I just wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
So that's where me and sponsorship comes down to now. Obviously, I don't. It's not like the Heady Heights of the Shimano days where you're getting paid fortunes, but I'm really happy. Less pressure. I'm fishing at a really high level, probably the highest level that I ever have done. I'm fishing internationally now, and I can focus on my fishing rather than, oh, is this rod going to break, or I haven't got any spare sections for my pole because if I break this pole, that's the last one in the world.
Yeah.
All those things and all the political rubbish that goes with it, and I just, it's loads better now. Loads better.
Fair enough. Right. Moving on.
How long are we on to now? What is it? About 2 hours?
It's long.
It's long. It's a long one. You can talk. We'll move on to the England feeder side of things. So you fish for the England feeder team. How did that come about? And when did dedicated feeder fishing become an attractive proposition? And is that style of fishing, only being able to fish a feeder, something that you find really interesting, working it out, not being able to chuck a float out? That side.
Yeah, I love, but I'll go to the dedicated feeder fishing, the styles of fishing. Doesn't necessarily suit how I fish, in fact, with my decision making. I like to be able to make a big bold decision midway through a match. I like to pick up a feeder rod if I've been fishing a pole. I like to pick up a pole if I've been fishing a feeder rod, fish a waggler. Or I tell you what, I might need to set up a big stick here. Or, it's just something radical. I like to make those big radical changes. So it doesn't really suit, because every little change is sort of like on a small scale. But as me and you talk about, there's loads of little tiny things that you can do that put you one step ahead in feeder fishing. So it's not just to chuck it and chance it, like everyone thinks. There's all those little tiny intricacies to it. Feeder fishing for me, obviously, as a kid, all you want to do when you match fishing, for me, it wasn't to be sponsored. Going back to that, I didn't want to be sponsored. I wanted to fish for England, because that's all I read about in the magazines. I read about Kim Milsom. I read about, Bob Nudd and all those people fishing for England, and you think, that looks amazing, that's what I want to do, that's the pinnacle. And that when it came, that England feeder team, when that came about, I thought, that's my chance, that's like a chance to do that sort of thing. And you go on a couple of trials, you eventually go away, start going away with the lads fishing in that sort of setup. And when I look back how raw we all were on those first few outings compared to what we're like now, it's just, the change is just unbelievable. And when the teams were first announced, even up to sort of like 2 years in, and I was sort of I was quite involved in the second, third year, I was thinking, why am I fishing? I could do a much better job than these guys. But when I look back, I was shit. Compared to now, I was shit. And I tell you what, I wasn't a bad feeder angler then, but compared to what you need to be now, I was crap.
Well, the boom in feeder fishing must have kept the England feeder team on the toes. For a while, it was like they were the anglers, they were the ones that did feeder fishing, sort of dedicated a lot of the time to feeder fishing. Now, because of how many people are getting into it and doing that, it's keeping you on your toes and probably keeping you that step ahead.
It is. I tell you what, the pressure is on, because
there's a lot of anglers that think, oh, I'm really good,
who think they can do it.
Yeah.
And there is some anglers that if they dedicated more time and effort, probably could do it.
Yeah.
But the argument I always give is when they talk about so and so, he should be fishing, so and so. Some of these guys you've never heard of, but some of these guys you would have heard of. It's very rare we fish English style of matches.
Yeah.
It's very rare. We might be fishing for barbel in Portugal. We might be fishing for carp in South Africa. We might be fishing for catfish in Serbia. Mullet on venues. So the skills that you learn in this country aren't really the skills. Everyone sits on a few bream, catches a few bream every now and again.
Yeah.
That's what everyone does. And all of a sudden, if they get 3 matches in a row where they catch a few bream, they're Johnny Hero of that little area. They should be in the England feeder team.
And I know full well that bream fishing, if you're on them, you'll catch them. If you're not, even if they're either side of you, you're not necessarily on them.
Exactly. So that's what feeder fishing is to a lot of people in this country. It's bream fishing.
Yeah.
Or it's method feeder fishing. We're not allowed to use method feeder in World Champs.
No.
So forget that. Even take that out of the equation. What you need to be able to do is show that you're adaptable, and you've got a knowledge of ground baits, you've got a knowledge of how different fish feed, you're willing to go that extra mile, you understand about different rigs and what happens with hook baits when it falls through the water on different tail lengths, what happens if you put certain feeders on, because what we've learnt over the years, if you were to use a plastic cage instead of a wire cage, it reacts differently in the water. Window feeders, distance feeders, we use.
So basically, it's a lot more technical than what.
Once you get to World Champs level, it's a lot more technical.
Well, I think even general match fishing, the feeder side of it has come on massively. Because a lot of people used to just use a open end feeder, chuck it out.
Didn't matter what it was.
That was bream fishing.
Didn't matter what it was, did it? Because if the bream in front of you, you catch them.
It's probably, you can relate it back to where you were starting as commercials were kind of coming onto the scene.
Exactly.
And it's the same at first. You had all these little secrets that you could keep to yourself, and now everyone knows the same thing, so it is going to be tiny little details.
It's saturating a little bit now, and I tell you what, some of the other countries, they're fantastic at it. They're absolutely fantastic. Well, the Hungarians at the minute are superb.
Brilliant.
And what they've got over us is we put some time and effort into feeder fishing, but we're limited in this country, and I hate to use that as an excuse. We're limited in this country to sort of the events that we do. So we do feeder masters, it's standard bream fishing, or maybe a bit of speed fishing for roach or something like that, or method fishing, which isn't relevant. That's our feeder fishing in this country. But the Hungarians, they're fishing international style events lined up with their tabards on, their numbers on, in sectors. They're doing it week in, week out.
Yeah.
And they've got that knowledge of catching all those different species. They're on it. They're really. And I hate to use that as an excuse, because we could, if we wanted, we could get on a plane and go.
Hungary. And you do go over to Spain, that, Iberian Masters, and
we do as much as that as we possibly can. So it's really well, I suppose it's finances, and I always think when you're at the top of the game, you need to go the extra mile, and more international style events is what we need if we're going to really push on. But having said that, we'll be going to practice on the World Champs venues loads of times before then, and we'll try and get in the zone, and we get a week of practice, so there's no excuses really. The team's good enough, the team's fantastic.
Right, and to wrap this section up, what are your goals for the coming years?
My goals for the coming years is I'd love to be part of the feeder team that wins a gold medal. I'd be lying as well if I didn't want to win an individual medal, but I saw when, and I used this example quite a bit, I saw when Mick Viles was second in Portugal. He come second, obviously brilliant achievement. The team did did crap. So it was
he couldn't celebrate.
It was really the mood was so down that it would just ruin the whole thing for Mick. So without the team doing well, it's pointless winning an individual medal. And you hear that, you hear people go, "Oh, team first,
it's
team first," and you think that's what they said, but that is the case.
One thing where the Euros that have just gone, the top 3 individuals all came from teams that came in the top 3 as teams. That must be great.
It's
because
fantastic.
At least then, as an individual, you can celebrate. Really, like, we've all got a medal, but I've got one.
And it shows the individuals are usually in the top because that's the teams that have got the tactics right. And we're all fishing to a team plan. So it's just that you've drew a better peg, or you've done it slightly better, but you've got the tactics right as well.
Brilliant.
And your team's worked out the tactics.
So where is the Team England? Where are your next couple of trips? Just so people
we
know.
go to Rio in France. So it's France next year. Then there's a World Clubs event in Bulgaria, I think, the year after.
What if you get there and I don't? With my team again.
I'm just saying where the events are. I'm saying where the events are. I'm hoping that we manage to go. So the World Club events in Bulgaria, and every week our fishing is really feeder based now, and it's team based really. I never thought it'd be as much team fishing for me as I thought there would be now, as there is now. And I really enjoy it. I love going on the practice sessions, and the best days we have is when we go practicing somewhere. Because with 4 of us in a line, the banter's ruthless. I'm ripping into everyone. Everyone's ripping into me. Phil Ringer's got the biggest nose on the bank. Every time Waco loses a fish, it's just brilliant. It's fantastic.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Brilliant. Leave it at that.
Are we done?
With that section,
Oh.